Now it's time to bring you the midweek report as we have the electricity generation in the country fall well below 4,000 megawatts mark earlier at the start of this week as 11 plants were idle, even as several others suffered declines in the output. Now, total power generation fell by 3,922.2 megawatts as of 6 a.m. on Sunday from 4,394 megawatts on Saturday. That's according to data obtained from the Nigerian Electricity System Operator. Now, the idle plants include 6 of those built under the National Integrated Power Project, namely Geregu 2, Sapele 2, Olorunshogo, Omotosho, as well as Barina, and the others are Afam 4 and 5, Ibom, ASCO, as well as Egbin Station 6. Now, the data also shows that the generation capacity of 2,830.7 megawatts could not be utilized as at the start of the week as a result of gas constraints, low load demand by the distribution companies, and also water management. Egbin, the nation's biggest power station, saw its output drop to 664 megawatts on Sunday from 882 megawatts. Now, 2 of the nation's discos, Ikeja Electric and Eco Electricity Distribution Company, recently attributed a drop in power supply in Lagos State to a shortage in the allocation received from the national grid. The discos informed their customers via Twitter that a reduction in power allocation so far resulted from load shedding by the government-owned Transmission Company of Nigeria, which manages the grid. Joining me now live via Skype to discuss this development and much more, I have with me Chukwueluka Ume, the Chief Executive Officer of Century Power Generation. Good to have you on the Breakfast Show this morning.
Good morning, David. Good to be here.
Now, do you see any U-turn in terms of this narrative of idle power plants, the limiting impact it also has in terms of our power generation capacity and then the value chain within the power sector?
David, there's no change in what we've been saying. All the things you just read out, load shedding, load rejection, grid collapse, shortage of gas, it's all the same story that we've been hearing for many years. And those stories are going to continue to happen until you fix the entire value chain. You just said it yourself, the value chain. If one part of the chain is broken, the rest is not going to work. So for us to stop hearing the same rhetoric, we need to fix the entire value chain. It's as simple as that.
And how do we also deal with the new cost, the electricity tariff that we have on ground, the rate that Nigerians are paying on average? It's quite higher, and the promise is that we're going to have better power supply. But with this current infrastructure, do you see any change in that?
Some Nigerians are now paying almost double what they used to pay. And this is supposed to be a cost-reflective tariff. In some places, they call it the service-reflective tariff. Now, this tariff simply means that people are paying for the value of the electricity they get. And that money is able to settle all the costs it takes to generate the electricity and get it to the people, either in their factories, their homes, or their offices. What that means is there should be enough money in the system to make the required upgrades across the entire value chain. This increase just happened. It's going to take time for you to see the trickle effect to start improving the power supply in the country. But this is going to take years to happen.
And
it's not going to happen 1 year or 2 years.
We're already in the second quarter of the year. Do you think we're going to see a bigger investment volume as well as a partnership with private entities to just ensure that we have stronger electricity generation, distribution and transmission and cross-board? Because if we are also tilting gradually towards solar panels, are you not skeptical we might likely make the same mistakes of poor maintenance and a whole lot more within that regard as well, as that's the new way to go?
You know, I think we're mixing up a lot of things here. I say to Nigerians, look around the world. Look at developed nations and look at developing nations. Vietnam, for example, Vietnam multiplied its electricity supply more than 6 times in a space of 10 years. They built infrastructure. Infrastructure that they built is not based on solar panels. You know, Nigerians, we like to copy, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but we need to copy correctly. you cannot fix our power problems by building large solar farms. We have an abundance of natural gas in this country. We need to use what we have. I mean, look at all the other countries. Look at China. China's massive electrification did not come from solar. It came from coal, from gas, and from hydro. So we need, in my opinion, to focus on using the available resource, which is gas. This is what's going to help us to build a robust generating platform in this country. And then you talked about transmission. Transmission is still in the government's hands. So private sector, unfortunately, has nothing to do with that for now. If we want private sector to really drive the electricity industry, you have to complete the privatization that we started, which was a good thing, by the way, but you have to complete it. You can't mix and match.
And wrapping up our conversation at this point in time now, what sort of twist of fate do you also expect in terms of our demand and on-grid, off-grid power solutions in the short, medium and long term?
The unfortunate thing that we're seeing now is more people, more estates, more companies are opting for off-grid solutions. So they're contracting power companies like ours to build smaller plants. So instead of us focusing on building a 500 megawatt plant, which we've been working on for several years, we're now looking at building smaller plants, 2 megawatts, 6 megawatts, 10 megawatts here and there. And they are all supposed to be off-grid. This is not going to help stabilize the grid because the power doesn't go on the grid. And unfortunately, you're now seeing people do this in small silos all across the country. This is not what we need in the country today. But unfortunately, people are accessing this to help shore up their operations. And the cost is higher than what it would have been on the grid. I mean, give you an example. If I was generating power in a large plant, I'll be putting the power out maybe at 40 naira per kilowatt hour. But an off-grid solution, you'll be seeing power go as high as 65 naira per kilowatt hour. That's not what we need in Nigeria.
Okay, we just have to continue to put our best foot forward and look at stronger investment volume to see that we have a better power sector in the country, because Nigerians need power, our businesses need power, and we just have to do better. Thank you very much for your time at the Breakfast Show this morning, Chukwueluka Ume. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
My pleasure, David. Have a nice day.
You too.